Today's video is brought to you courtesy of the newest polar vortex that is hitting everyone out there right now.
I think it's the Arctic wind.
Yeah, they make up a new name every time. Today, we are going to answer some of the most asked questions related to the Mr. Heater video that we put out. The three main questions that we've been asked so far relate to the temperature, how the thermostat works, how long does the tank last, and is it safe? Two of these we can give you a pretty quick and easy answer to, and the third one is kind of a little bit of a conversation. The actual thermostat on top doesn't have temperatures or degrees. It actually has just a number 1 through 5, but from the factory and from the Mr. Heater website, it actually tells you what temperature each of those numbers is set to. Some of them make sense and some of them don't. Number 1 is about 67 degrees, which is enough to kind of keep your basement from freezing. That's kind of what we were using it for. Number 5 is apparently 118. Not that you would ever want your room to be 118 degrees, but it is one of the options. So for the valve on top, again, there are 5 settings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to actually put up here on the screen, you'll actually see what the temperatures are for each of those 5 settings. Hey editor, where's this going?
On your belly.
Hey, it's not that much text. All of those numbers are hard set. You cannot change them. And one of the questions we got was, can you basically swap out the thermostat system? Now, if you've got like an engineering level degree and actually know a lot about this stuff, you certainly can go in there and hack something together to override the built-in factory system. But by default, it is not designed to work with an external thermostat. Basically, that little knob system that's in there is all that you have. Now for the second question, how long does a tank last? Sadly, life has been getting in our way, and I haven't had a lot of time down here in the basement during the cold months, so we haven't actually emptied our first tank yet. It is a thermostat system, which means it comes on and goes off. So depending upon how much heat your heat stays in your space, then it's going to be using it at a different rate. But what I can tell you is that the manufacturer does have a specific burn rate listed, which should tell you about how many pounds or gallons per hour the unit will use on its max setting. And from there, depending upon the size tank you have, you can figure that out. We also have had a subscriber has actually mentioned how long theirs lasted. So that is a piece of anecdotal evidence that you can use for how long it worked for someone else. Now for the issue of safety, safety is an interesting one. And let's face it, the problem with today's world is anybody can sue anybody for anything. And manufacturers and people, YouTubers alike, are pretty much afraid to say, yes, this is safe. Because as soon as someone like me or a company says that, and then someone else tries to set something up and accidentally burns their house down, then you're looking at a lawsuit. A lot of the stuff from the manufacturer, just like a lot of the stuff you may hear me say, is a little bit, for lack of a better word, two-faced. I'm saying one thing, and yet I'm doing another. So let's go over some basic facts related to the units of what I know, and then I will let you sort of piece together for yourself whether you think it is safe or not. First things first, vent-free. Basically what that means is all of your exhaust gases and everything are going right into your space. Most people like that because it is the most efficient heater out there, because all of your heat gets into your space. We had a fireplace at our second house that actually was a vent system, and you could use that thing during the summer and it wouldn't even make any heat into your house. It was almost useless as a heater. That's why I and most people like the vent-free system. But it is so controversial that the state of California has actually outlawed vent-free, and the entire country of Canada. So if you look on the Mr. Heater website, Canada and California, you are not allowed to buy these heaters. In a new home where everything is almost airtight, yes, I would believe that could be a problem. Now we are in currently a basement space that has a lot of air leaks, so there's a lot of room for gases to get out. So I'm not as worried about it here like I would be if we were in a very energy efficient house. If you look at what the manufacturer states, there is some confusing information. As an example, they tell you that the minimum size tank you can use is a 20-pound tank. You're never really going to have a 20-pound tank that's sitting outside of your house that is plumbed into the inside of your house that is then connected to your heater. Practically speaking, the only reason you would have a 20-pound tank connected to one of these heaters is if the two units are sitting there together in a space. But in their manual, it point blank says that you're not allowed to have the gas cylinder inside of a living space. And if you think about it, it makes sense. As long as everything is working, you're good to go. I do have a friend whose house burnt down because of a 20-pound propane cylinder that developed a crack in the valve. So yes, the valve was closed, but because the actual brass fitting broke, gas started escaping and it burnt their house down. And while it is a very unlikely thing, something like that could very well happen here. It is a gamble, it is a risk. And that is probably why they state no gas tanks inside of a living space. But at the same time, Mr. Heater themselves actually sells a hose to connect your 20-pound tank to your heater. So they tell you that they don't want you using it indoors, but if you're not using it indoors, where are you really using it? A blue flame is designed to heat the air. You're only going to use that in a space that is a sealed living area, most likely. So again, they make it so that you can use it this way, but then they turn around and tell you in the manual, oh no, you shouldn't do that, it's not safe. And a lot of that is kind of what I've been reverberating here for you. Yes, I've set mine up. I feel safe with it in my space the way I use it. Will I tell you that it is safe? No, because Murphy's Law, things may happen. It's life. Things are going to happen. The units themselves, they actually have an O2 sensor built in and a carbon monoxide detector built in that are supposed to shut them off. But even with all of that, I still have a carbon monoxide detector down here, separate from the unit. And I will never use a heater down here that doesn't have one in the area. In addition to that, I never leave this thing running if I'm not here, even though it has a thermostat to where it will come on and off. If I leave from the basement, it goes off. The valve on the tank gets shut off. Even though it is designed to where, hey, yeah, you can just leave this stuff there, leave it running when you're not there, I do not do that. It's an extra safety precaution that I like to take. And I would recommend anyone out there would do the same thing. It's like, you don't mess around with gas. Gas can mess you up. I just realized how that sounds. Man, gas will mess you up.
Back to the video.
There's actually another question that we get asked, and that is in relations to a single stage versus a dual stage regulator. So the unit does require a regulator, and a single stage versus a dual stage, technically they both do the same thing. They both transfer a pressure from your tank down to a certain water column number before it goes into your heater. A two-stage does it in 2 steps and is more accurate, mainly meaning as pressures outside are going to fluctuate, you'll get your pressure will stay the same more accurately. Now, is it enough that you're probably going to have to worry about it? Not really. I'm using a single stage. It's working perfectly fine for me. I've actually looked in their documentation and I couldn't actually find anything where they state that a 2-stage is required. That's one of the reasons we just got the single. Now, the one that they actually do sell is a 2-stage. The wife farted, apparently. She's going like this.
I was reminding you about the person that was asking the question about how long does this smell?
We really haven't had a problem out of ours, but like anything that's newly manufactured, it's going to have like oils and stuff on it and different things. Apparently I'm cracking the wife up back here. She started thinking about the fart video.
No, that was a burping video. It was not a farting video.
So as the unit is first powered up, you're going to get some smell. After everything kind of burns off, you shouldn't get a smell, and we don't on ours. Now, in our actual house, we have had a case where I've had like kind of a bad smell. It's like the rotten egg smell that you get when propane is leaking. I've actually had that in our house just a little bit, because the way the percentages of it in the gas were a little bit off. There's a lot of things that may cause it, but in general, this does not smell, especially compared to the kerosene heater that it replaced. That thing would pretty much stink up the whole basement and even upstairs.
It stunk up upstairs. Every time he would use it, I'm like, can you please turn that off?
Yeah, this is a natural gas or propane is about as clean burning as you can get, and we have not had any issues with smell out of ours. I would say it's one of those things of if it's an intermittent thing, maybe you got a bad can of gas, kind of hard to say. If it keeps doing it, maybe you should look into it. But yeah, ours personally, we have not had any smell outside of the first couple minutes of when I first cranked it up. As always, we're going to throw a bunch of links down in the description, like to the manual. The temperature settings for the thermostat is actually on a website with Mr. Heater that's actually named Mr. Heater University. So it actually has a lot of good facts and data about these heaters and more stuff that you may have not even thought about. So it's actually a good resource directly from the manufacturer, and that link will be below. We'll also include some Amazon links in case you want to see any of the stuff that we've been talking about here. Previously, we included a link for the cheaper hose that I actually purchased. There is also one that is directly from Mr. Heater that is like 4 times more expensive. That's the reason we didn't even put that in there. But at least one of you out there has actually purchased that, so we will go ahead and throw that down there as well. So in case this is the first video you've seen on this and you actually didn't see the one where we actually hooked it up and installed it, and you would like to see that, we're going to include that video somewhere over here. And maybe she'll even throw in the video if she was so nervous that she was burping like a sailor. She goes out and burps on camera and's got 10,000. It's like, it's not fair, y'all.